I don't know who needs to hear this, but stop delaying and procrastinating on that thing that God told you to do. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. And I get it. It is so difficult to move into that thing that God is calling you to do, especially when you do not feel equipped for it and you do not feel qualified. I've been there and got stuck in those same mindsets. But if you stick with me, I'm going to share with you some of the habits and disciplines that I incorporated that helped me to stop procrastinating and helped me to move into the things that God was calling me to do. Welcome back. I'm Shaudae Renee, a faith-based content creator whose goal is to create content that not only resonates with you, but inspires and uplifts you in your own faith journey. If you're new here, I don't believe that you came across this video by accident, but I believe that God has a specific message that He wants to get to you. So make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so that you can always stay connected on all the future videos that might also speak to you. Being obedient to what God is telling you to do can be so challenging because not only does it stretch your faith, but it also pushes you outside of your comfort zone. Now, I too am guilty of delaying what God has told me to do and putting that into action. If I'm being really honest and transparent with you, up until recently, I have still been halfway obedient with what He told me to do. Many times I found myself starting what He was asking me to do, but then along the line somewhere I would stop. And ultimately, it resulted in me never being consistent, which means I remained in disobedience. And while all the reasons behind why I started and stopped honestly could have been legitimate reasons as to why I did, when it comes to being obedient to God, there are no excuses. When God is calling us to an area in life that seems bigger than what we can even measure up to, it's because He wants us to pull and draw on Him for all of our strength. He wants us to be reliant on Him and trust that He has us through the whole process. For me, the areas that I allowed to hold me back from moving forward with what I knew that God was calling me to was me feeling inadequate. And that was mainly because I was comparing myself with other people who seemed successful in the thing that God was calling me to. I also let my past mistakes cloud me moving forward. With me making so many mistakes along the way in life, and especially throughout my faith journey, it just didn't feel like I had anything to offer anyone because I didn't feel like my life reflected like I had anything to offer to other people. It allowed me to hold myself back from moving forward to where God was calling me to. I also let my insecurities of how I sound on camera and my competency and my tendency of mumbling and talking too fast, where I didn't feel like people could understand what I was saying. I let that hold me back as well because I felt similar to Moses, where I was like, God, please pick somebody else. And yet God was still nudging and pulling on me and pressing in on me to tell me to still do the one thing that I didn't want to do, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm getting on camera, I'm speaking. And it's the one area that I just knew that I could never hold up to. And in my own strength, I couldn't. And if it was up to me, all those things that I listed to me felt like the legitimate reasons of why I shouldn't start and move forward with what God was telling me to do. Because again, I don't feel adequate enough to do it. I don't feel qualified. But then one day, everything shifted. And I remember praying to God and asking Him for strategy and wisdom and methods in order to help keep me to be disciplined and consistent. Because if He was calling me to an area that I didn't feel like that I was adequate enough for, that I felt like He was gonna have to breathe on it to make it successful. Now, I don't have it all figured out, but I do want to share some of the disciplines and the habits that did help me become more successful in making actionable steps towards what God was calling me to do. Number one, cutting out distractions. And we fill up our time with so many things that really end up being wasted time versus us using that time wisely to accomplish what God is calling us to. Now, really think about it. What are some of those things right now in this season that is taking away your time from what God is calling you to? Are you spending too much time scrolling on social media? Are you maybe binge watching too much Netflix? Or are you even creating your own distractions in the name of calling it preparation for what God is calling you to, but in reality, it's actually taking up too much of your time? And if anything comes to your mind, maybe in this season, you should consider if that should be something that you cut out, set aside, or cut down the amount of time that you're spending on that thing. To be honest, I believe distractions are the biggest silent killers, and they're the things that are holding us back and keeping us from going the direction that God wants us to go. So let's get honest. What is an area that is taking too much of your time that maybe God right now is trying to nudge you that it's time to cut and trim that off in this season? The second habit and discipline that really has been helping me overcome procrastination is creating daily checklists and actually sticking to it. Even if you don't check off every box on that list for the day, as long as you are getting half or more than half of those tasks complete, it really will help keep you disciplined and put you in a direction that will keep you organized. For me, creating daily checklists and crossing off the tasks one by one was one of the most effective ways to help me stop procrastinating and actually getting tasks done. I feel like this is a good method for everyone because if you have a focused goal for the day and it doesn't feel overwhelming, it really does help you get focused and centered and really get to what you have to do. The third habit and discipline that I found most effective was setting aside intentional time with God. To me, this area is a non-negotiable. God is the one who is calling us to an area. So he is the one who is responsible to help us accomplish it. He already knows every aspect of the journey, what we're going to have to go through, what we're going to have to face, and where he's ultimately trying to take us to. So for me, it's just a no-brainer. And it only makes sense that we'll lean in and depend on the one who is instructing us to do a thing, because it is he that we have to seek for the answers, the clarity, and the guidance for the direction that we're going. The fourth thing that I realized that really helped me to not procrastinate was just to start small. This kind of goes hand in hand with the checklist. I found that when I created smaller tasks, it helped me to be able to focus and hone in on what I was doing. It didn't make everything feel overwhelming. And when you can literally hone in on little things that you can do that lead up to the grand picture, it makes everything run smoothly. Because if you're doing a little bit at a time, eventually the bigger goal that you're getting to, that God is showing you to go, will be accomplished. So I think starting small and then building your way up, it really kind of gives me like that compound effect and the habit stacking method. So this is a thing that I feel like really kind of changed how I move just in daily life with all my disciplines. Starting small, I really believe boosts your success rate. And the most important thing is I think it helps you to at least just start. The fifth habit that I feel like helped me stop procrastinating was listening and observing people who are successful in the area that I felt that God was calling me to. Now, this is not about comparing yourself to people, but it is about listening to what people have overcome, who have gone before you and have experienced some of the things that you either are facing or might face in the future in a certain area. And so for me, I felt that this was a way that God was shedding light and giving me strategy and giving me methods and giving me clarity and things that I was either experiencing or things that I wasn't even familiar with. I do felt like this was a good habit that I incorporated in my daily life. Because for me, this was an area that also helped me get inspiration. It helped spark new ideas. Because I do feel that we draw inspiration from people, from things around us. And for me, it is very inspiring to hear other people's journeys and seeing where they come and how far they come. And it helps me to look at my situation as it is more normal than what I realize it is. Because sometimes when we're stuck in our own space and things aren't really going the direction that we want and things feel too big for us, it feels like we're the only one in the world who's ever faced that challenge. But when I found that I was listening and observing other people who were heading in that same direction that I feel that God is calling me to, it made me realize that while my situation is unique, it isn't new. Other people have also gone through these same things, and listening to their testimonies and their journeys helped me realize that God also got me too. So this is the area that I did make sure that I incorporate into my daily routine. But I do think it is also wise to not make this part of a routine if it's going to become a new distraction. One thing we don't want to do is make the mistake and follow what other people are doing too much, that we don't even make the moves for ourselves. But if you're using this as a means to draw inspiration, to get clarity, to get more strategy, to get more answers to maybe some of the things that you're struggling with, I do think this is a good tool that you can use to aid in helping you move forward with a little bit more confidence, because you feel like you have a little bit more answers in a direction of where you're trying to go. But again, this should not be a distraction that takes away from the time of what God is calling you to. And this should not be a replacement of your intimacy with God, so that you're not getting answers from other people more than you're getting answers and clarity from God. Number 6 for me is don't let your emotions drive your actions. This just boils down to no matter how you feel, whatever God called you to do, just do it anyways. Honestly, I would say the majority of the time that I was delaying in the action of moving forward what God was telling me to do, is because I was leaning too much into my emotions. For me, if I didn't feel like I was in a good mood or if I wasn't in a good mental headspace, I would use this a lot of times as reasons to delay what I was supposed to do, instead of just pushing past my emotions and just doing that thing anyways, taking the step, taking the action. Because I do believe if we do take some steps, that God will meet us halfway. And so instead of me taking the steps and pulling on God to meet me and strengthen me in the areas that I didn't have the strength to do, I would just literally lean into the downward spiral and let my emotions get the best of me. And to be honest, the more that I would delay and the more I would postpone, it literally would delay time more and more. So me delaying one day would turn into a month, and then a month would turn into years. And before you know it, I found myself just walking in delayed obedience. It is so important to push past those emotions, to push past that discomfort and the insecurities, to make sure that we're unlocking where God is trying to take us. And honestly, we just got to take that step anyways. So right now, think about those areas that have postponed you and delayed your obedience. The seventh habit and discipline that I incorporated was focusing on consistency and not perfection. And I'll admit it, I am borderline a perfectionist and I am definitely an overthinker. But it is important that we do not hyperfixate on every aspect and overly critique ourselves, because that is one of the areas that will really hinder us from moving forward, and it will delay us in doing what we know that God is calling us to do. The reality is we might not get every aspect of what we're trying to do correct or the way that we want, but it is important that we just start with what God has given us and what we're already doing. Because along the way, God will show us how to revamp and how to renew and how to freshen things up. So just focus on what you're supposed to do, and God will show you how to tweak it and revamp it to reach the point of where you need to go. Luke 16:10 says, "The one who is faithful in the very little is faithful in much." We are called to steward the gifts that we have with the resources that we have access to. God is not looking for you to do the most. Rather, he is looking for you to make the most out of what you have. It is our choice if we bury what God has placed in us or what he's calling us to, or if we choose to put into action and invest our time so that he can breathe on it. Now, number 9 on the list isn't so much a habit or a discipline as it is a mindset shift. And that is create a why behind what God is calling you to. So why is this so important? I believe it is important that everyone has a why behind what they do, even if it is a God call. Because if you have a why, it will always keep you grounded and humble in what you're doing. Now, your why needs to be bigger than just tangible things. The why has to be the thing that helps center and ground you. So every time you're doing something, your focus is going right back to that thing. For me, my why is to always inspire people and to also always be a light. Now, these are things that are bigger than tangible things. It's not me looking for something that I can hold. It's not something I can do that is a selfish motive behind it. But this why is, even if it touched just one person, if the content that I put out to one person changes the trajectory of their life, then that is literally all that I need. And so if we have a why centered to what we're doing and our focus, even if it's something that God is calling us to, having a created why is always going to be a driving factor in every action that you do in your everyday discipline. And last but not least, get an accountability partner. Now, this area was a very underrated thing and an area of no importance or value to me. And so my sister practically made herself my accountability partner. Now, through natural conversation, she became aware of some of the goals that I had and some of the things that I committed to say that I felt that God was showing me and telling me to do. And she helped me through those things. So if it was my post day and she didn't see an upload, she would quickly be on that phone and be like, I didn't see a video post today. So it made me have to be accountable to give a legitimate response. Like, if I was planning to post something another day, I'd be like, yeah, you didn't see today, but I promise you'll be up here tomorrow. Like, there had to be some accountability there. And so this was an area that I really honestly didn't think was important. But the more that you have a trusted person that knows your goals, who is keeping you accountable to what you said that God is showing you to do, they're there to help you along in the process. Now, I would say, whoever you get to be your accountability partner, you need to make sure it's the right person. You need to make sure it's someone who's going to be honest with you. And it's going to be someone who's going to also be consistent with keeping you accountable. So there we have it. Those are the 10 most effective habits and disciplines that I've incorporated in my life through the past year. And I really do feel like it has helped me to not procrastinate. and to move closer and move forward to where God is calling you to go. And now it's time for you to do the same. No more procrastinating, no more excuses, no more delays. It's time to move forward in the area that you feel that God is placing on your heart and calling you to. You're only responsible to be obedient. Put your faith into action and put all the other added pressures onto God. He is faithful and He will breathe on what He's calling you to do. That's all I have for you today. I pray that this video was a blessing and encouragement for you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.